Hey everybody, welcome into Delmarva Sports Insider, your #1 live and local show dedicated to giving you all local sports all the time. I'm Sports Director Brandon Bossert.
What is up? It is yours truly, sports anchor Devin J. Martin. Welcome into the show. We've got a lot to talk about tonight.
That's right. Friday Night Lights are back, and it's Devin's first Friday night football action.
Yep, and we're the favorite gridiron group. I wanted to say gridiron gang, but that's from the movie and with The Rock and stuff. And I don't want to get a copyright. I don't want to get super copyright. But your favorite gridiron group is here to talk Delmarva football, high school and college.
Yeah, that's right. There is a lot to dive into. We begin with our game of the night. It comes from up north. We had a feeling about this one.
Absolutely.
Queen Anne's and North Carolina.
Absolutely. Queen Anne's erupted onto the scene last year, and North Carolina is trying to recapture their dominance. Now let's get to those highlights. North Carolina going to get out in front first. Zamir Smith with the ball. He slips a tackle and walks right in for 6.
Showing off that speed.
Absolutely. Bulldogs take the 6-0 lead, but Queen Anne's would answer right back. KJ Smothers gets the ball, and he finds his way in for 6. I guess, Brandon, this was a ground game.
He's a bulldozer.
Absolutely. QA gets the extra point, and the Lions go up by 1. But we're going to fast forward to the third quarter. Lions down 2 possession. Devin Wright in the pocket. He is going to throw it out to Smothers, and this will be the turning point of the game right here. Look at that. You see how he slipped that tackle? No one is left to catch him. He gets the score. He goes down the sideline for 6. That's his second TD of the game. Lions only down by 2 points.
All right, let's move on now to the fourth quarter. Queen Anne setting up for the extra point. But wait a minute. North Carolina gets called for encroachment. Queen Anne's gets a whole new set of downs with less than a minute left in the game.
Oh, that can't happen.
Lions at the 10-yard line, and who else? It's Smothers. KJ punching in for 6. Lions take the 20-16 lead. Absolute bedlam out there.
Wow.
Touchdown would give them the lead, and that would seal the deal as the Lions win their season opener in comeback fashion. Final score 20-16. We caught up with KJ after the game and asked him about how no matter the score, this team just never stops fighting.
That's the best team I've ever been on. Bunch of fighters, you know what I mean? Our quarterback is our toughest player, you know what I mean? He stays in the pocket, he get hit every single play. Stay in the pocket, tough to lose, all that, you know what I mean? He's a leader. He's a real leader. He's a junior, so yeah, everybody will fight, you know what I mean? I fumbled my second drive of the game, you know what I mean? I'm gonna come back always. I'm gonna shake it off, you know what I mean? We short-term memory always.
My goodness, KJ Smothers is an absolute beast. Queen Anne's is always in the game as long as KJ is running that ball. That was an impressive performance, but the offensive line did a fantastic job as well, opening up those running lanes. We give credit to the running back all the time, but it's the big guys down the trenches.
Most important positions on the field.
Yeah, exactly. If you control the trenches, you control the game in high school. But we were looking forward to this matchup coming in because the Lions, they're up-and-comers this year. Last year, they had a great season. The old guard, North Carolina, who ran the show for years up north. And this was a capital win by Queen Anne's tonight to come back to beat your rival. Tough, physical game against a team that's coached very well. Great job by the Lions out there
I mean,
tonight.
North Carolina blew that because that encroachment penalty. Yeah, that encroachment penalty.
That is true.
It's insane. Again, it's the fourth quarter on an extra point, and you give them an extra set of downs. Right.
With all these high school kids out there, it's week 1. You're bound to make mistakes, but you can't make a mistake in that moment.
Not in the fourth quarter, not in a game at the point like that. Now, again, Brandon, that was a great way to start off the season for the Lions. They've got to be happy though with the performance. Obviously, you see the man on the screen right there. He was amazing, and that clutch touchdown at the end is the stuff that builds a team's character. I mean, you mentioned it's very early on in the season, but winning games like this early on in the season gives you great momentum that you can carry for the rest of the season, and it develops that team because that experience is priceless rolling forward because you can always have that in your back pocket and say, guys, we were down 4 with a minute left to go. We almost lost, but we came through and won the game just like that.
That's right. Hey, can't wait to see what Queen Anne's can do moving forward. Let's move on to more Bayside North action now. We move to Easton. The Warriors open their season hosting the Kent Island Buccaneers, and this one did not go as planned.
Look at that end zone run right there, Brandon. I mean, again, they were up. Easton was a bad team last year. Kent Island was a really good team. last year. But things switch. I mean, that end zone run late in the game by the Bucs wasn't enough. The Warriors start the season off strong with a blowout win. If you went by last year's records, you would think this was a monster upset. The Bucs were 10-1 last season and won 2 playoff games before that final loss. But the Warriors were 3-6. But with head coach Matt Griffin back at the helm, the Warriors look like a new team. Now, after the game, Coach Griffin said starting the season off with a victory is great, but there's still room for improvement.
First off, Canal's a very good football team. We had a couple breaks go our way tonight. Our kids made a couple big plays when they had to, and they deserved the opportunity to win, and they got it. But we got to clean up a lot of stuff if we want to continue to get better. We got, like I said, fortunate on a couple big plays, and that was the big difference in the game. We bounced a couple times where they had picked up some momentum, and we answered right away. And again, making big plays, and that was really the big difference.
Now, moving 20 minutes east to the home of the Colonels, the Seaford Blue Jays were making a stop, and they showed that they are a team that is great but also mistake-prone, but they will still be reckoned with this season. You see Trayvon Paulson picking it off after they fumbled the ball to give the ball to the Colonels in the first place. That was his second pick of the game, and it was only the second quarter. And then Jazante Levin gets the swing and takes it 30-plus yards on the ground. He is moving. He didn't make it to the end zone, but he gave the Blue Jays a perfect field position that they would capitalize on. Now, they were already up 6 at this point, and Kareem Bolden found Avion Matthews single covered in the end zone with a nice pass and catch that put the Blue Jays up 13-0. And then with less than a minute to go in the half, Brandon, the Blue Jays force a fumble from the Colonels and recover it, which is a momentum builder for the Blue Jays because then that Bolden-Matthews connection was alive and strong. Look at that.
That's pretty.
Absolutely.
Did you see the zip on that ball?
Absolutely. He looked like old Michael Vick right there.
Bolden's got talent.
They sure do. He broke the pocket right there and squeezed that pass right to Matthews. The Blue Jays were up 20 at half, and they win big 41-14.
Wow, that was impressive. Parkside hosting Snow Hill, and this one was tight early on. Eagles leading, but not for long. Nasir Holden breaking through tackles, and he's gone. 2-point conversion, no good. We are tied at 6. Snow Hill ain't going away, though. Zaheem Kalik sprinting down the sidelines. The Eagles back on top. Snow Hill making big plays, but with heavy hearts. Just want to give a shout out to head coach Dietrich Downing, who suffered a loss in the family. We're thinking of you, Coach. Back to the highlights now. Check out John Smith. Beautiful pass down the sidelines by Luke Massarello. Right in the breadbasket. Rams need some luck on this next one. Tip drill, and there's John Smith. Right place, right time. Parkside would run away with it from there. They win 55-12.
However, this game belonged to Decatur from the opening kickoff between the Bennett Clippers and obviously the Decatur Seahawks. Bryson Coleman led the charge for the Seahawk offense. He found a Xavier Manuel, and Manuel did the rest. Coleman was on fire. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns, including that one that you just saw. Decatur was up 29-6 at halftime.
Now the Clippers would catch a break on this punt return. Amarion Manuel picks it up. And but he drops some loose change on the ground.
He just bobbled it. I don't know what happened.
Bennett pounces on the mistake, but the Seahawk defense was just too much to handle in this one, shutting down Zakai Smullen. Look at this. That's smothering defense right there. Nowhere to go. 3 Seahawks are there. Decatur would shut down the Clippers, holding them to just 13 points on the afternoon. Decatur blows out Bennett, final score of 43-13. And the Seahawks will play Indian River coming up next Friday.
And Ravens, Bulldogs, we got to talk about yesterday's game that started off the whole season here on Delmarva. It was 2 schools separated by less than 10 miles, both schools shooting for a state title. Every dog has its day, and right now it's a day of the Bulldogs. On the 3rd play of the game, junior back Xavier Limehouse broke free and ran 50 yards, setting up the score for the Bulldogs. They'd go up 7-0, but the Ravens called right back. Jeremiah Handy scrambled and found Jaron Sample for the end zone. The score was tied at 7. And then the Bulldogs go up 10-7 after the first, but the second half was all Bulldogs. That block punt right there gave them great position, and then Kylie's Wilson did the rest with the run. Look at that spin move and the breaking tackle, finishing the possession with that first touchdown for him of the season. He'd had 2 on the night. The Bulldogs were too much on both sides of the ball. Handy was out for a series. His backup, Ryan Cooper, was in just for 1 series, just to get smacked by Braden Hurd in the Bulldog defense. And then Caden Shockley was adding insult to injury, adding to the lead with a 50-yard scramble to the end zone. Bulldogs won big, 31-7.
All right, now let's take a look at the rest of our local teams in action tonight. Milford with an emphatic win over Cambridge South Dorchester, 32-6. Dover had the ball deep in Arundel territory, 31 seconds left, but an interception in the end zone would end this one. Dover falls to Arundel 21-19.
Tough way to lose.
Yeah, and they lost by 1 point to Arundel to start their year last year, but they went to the playoffs, won a playoff game. We'll see what happens with Chip Knapp's team. And then check out this score from the 1A. Polytech loses 44-38 against McCain, but man, it's a positive sign for that offense to put up 38 points. Trojans, they fall to Bohemia Manor by a final of 48-0. Wow. So, a couple of absolute stunners tonight, Devin.
Absolutely.
Easton not only beats Kent Island, but this wasn't even close from the beginning.
Absolutely, it was not. I mean, by the time I got there, it was the fourth quarter. They were already up 35 to, I think it was like 14,
right.
7 points. So it was really bad.
The Warriors were 3-6 last year. Kent Island went unbeaten in the regular season. And just look at this turnaround. I mean, a battle of head coaches, 2 head coaches who are back for their second stints in their first games back. Matt Griffith's guys come out ready to go.
Absolutely.
And Griffith talked about the culture and creating a more disciplined environment when we visited camp. Well, it looked a lot different tonight.
Yep, they sure did. They looked great.
Yeah, Duke commit Kevin O'Connor, 255 yards passing, 75 on the ground. He is going to be a headache for all these Bayside teams. And then Colin Mooney with 107 yards receiving. So they do have some offensive weapons up there in Easton. They're a team to watch out for. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. I mean, they scored 35 points in 3 quarters. So I think that final score was kind of just, just an easy touch to end the game. They could have run it up more if they really wanted to, but they were already up big by the time the fourth quarter came around. And as you mentioned, Griffith, he told us that he was breaking the team down from its core and building them right back up from scratch. And after being 3-6 last year, that wasn't really good enough. So new plays, new players, new formation, new coach, and so far, new results. And another team, Brandon, that looks really good, and I think the team besides the reigning champs, you see them on your screen right there, was the Blue Jays. Again, Brandon, they scored 20 points in the first half. They were up 20-0 when it should have been 40. They had 3 touchdowns called back due to penalties in the first 15 minutes of the game. And there was even more flags that were thrown after false starts, illegal formation, even a little bit of an unsportsmanlike conduct. A lot of mixed cues that made a potential 40 to 50 point win only a 27-point win. So I think, when they're facing lower competition, it doesn't matter. But when they start to face teams that are on their level or even slightly superior to them, those mistakes will cost them if they don't kind of correct it. And, Brandon, we still got to talk about the game from yesterday, Laurel and Sussex
Let's
Tech.
talk about it.
Absolutely. I mean, you had Sussex Tech winning that game. I chose Laurel.
Hey, I chose Sussex Tech. I wanted to go out on a limb. I was on the Laurel bandwagon right from the beginning of the season last year. They went on to win the title.
Yep.
You know what? I don't know why I didn't stick to my guns and say Laurel was going to win, but you know what? They were impressive yesterday going out there against Sussex Tech. I did not expect a 31-7 final score, but Caden Shockley, great as a quarterback, running, throwing. I mean, he even had an interception out there yesterday.
Yep.
And then Kylie Swilson, he is just a bulldozer at running back.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, but what did you see in the Ravens? Obviously, they didn't win, but what did you see in them that made you, have confidence in that? Well,
honestly, I just saw them improving week after week last season. I thought that would carry over into this year, and it's fun to pick upsets at the beginning of the year.
Absolutely. Again, I thought the Bulldogs were definitely going to win.
I just wanted to tell Laurel, guys, I'm not picking you this week. Go out there and prove me wrong. They proved me wrong. They did a great job.
So, I had your back, though. I got you guys. I got the Bulldogs. I think that when it comes back to the Ravens, though, they actually do look very improved compared to last season. And I think this is a tough test because they're facing the defending champs. But I do think that the Ravens are going to be another team that is going to be a sleeper team. They looked really good. Again, it was the first game jitters, at home in front of their home crowd.
Because they started off well.
They did.
10-7
it was 10-7 at halftime, and then the third quarter is when they kind of lost control. And I think that if they can carry over that first half performance against other teams, that is going to be where they can be maybe a top 5 team in the Henlopen, North and South.
All right, well, we'll see next week. That'll do it for the A block. We're taking a timeout, but when we return, the Gulls with an impressive performance to open up the season and a few local high school stars getting in on the action. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Chip Knapp. I'm with Dover High School Football, and you're watching Delmarva Sports Insider.